It is a pleasure and an honor to welcome back to our show Mark Leibovich, who is a staff writer at The Atlantic. He is the author of 5 books, including 3 New York Times bestsellers and 2 number 1 New York Times bestsellers, This Town from 2013, and Thank You for Your Servitude for 2022. Before joining The Atlantic, in 2022, he spent 16 years at the New York Times. He has a new piece in Atlantic, which is hilarious and insightful. It is entitled Donald Trump is a lamer duck than ever, even though he doesn't want you to think so. You talk about 2 visual images in our visual era that have gone viral and that indicate what you designate as Donald Trump's status as a lame duck. What are those images, Mark?
Well, they both happened within a couple of minutes of each other in the Oval Office last week. Actually, I think it was 2 weeks ago now. It was just after the off-year elections in which Democrats won big decisive victories in the governor's race in New Jersey and in Virginia. And so big losses for Trump, big repudiations. And the first image was there was a press conference in the Oval Office. Trump was seated at his desk. All of the speakers were sort of standing in a row, including some people in the background. And the purpose of the press conference was to announce easier access to weight loss drugs. And one of the people on the stage, one of the participants collapsed. I think he fainted. I don't know if he had. I don't know if he was dehydrated or whatever it was. He fainted. He was fine, but there was this picture of Trump standing to sort of briefly check on the guy, then turn around with his back to the action while others were tending frantically to him, and
he was lying on the ground like
ground.
a victim.
Yeah,
The other thing about that I needed to ask you about, because you probably have researched it. Why did the Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy,
why did he leave?
Why did he run away?
Strange, right? He claimed that he was going to get help. Now that's ridiculous because there were
It's the White House.
A number of different doctors were in the Oval Office at the time, and they were all tending to him. So yeah, it was definitely curious. But what the cameras really captured was Trump looking very, very indifferent, almost disdainful that this photo op in the Oval Office had been disturbed, and obviously all the attention was focused on the guy lying on the floor. And then a few minutes later, after things got kind of under control, Trump seemed to be nodding off for a number of minutes at a time, and many cameras captured that too. And yeah, I mean, look, he had been in Asia a few days earlier. I mean, he keeps a pretty heavy travel schedule. He's 79 years old. I mean, I think, look, it happens, but it's not an image you want to have out there, especially when you're someone who just thrives on being engaged or having your fingers in everything and being completely in command. And so that was pretty damning also, I would even argue, perhaps more so than the first one.
And in terms of that, we played earlier in the show a little bit of that selection of his interchange with reporters on Air Force One, where he talked about his MRI and how a whole multitude of doctors said it was perfect. It was the best examination they had ever had, that there is no one healthier, no one more robust. Is that going to continue to be the line for the 79-year-old president?
Well, if past his prologue, he's said this pretty much about every medical, exam he has had, every mental skills exam he's had. I mean, who knows? I mean, it sounds like it feels like it's nonsense. I think it's kind of a joke after a while, but he sticks to his line. I assume there are quite a few people out there who actually believe it. And look, I'll say this: in fairness, he does keep a busy schedule, and compared to the last guy who was absolutely invisible and did not communicate very much, he is a kind of he certainly projects more energy than Biden did, and I think Biden is an example of how being so invisible and seemingly so sort of aside from events, almost passive to events, can be a very, very difficult and ruinous thing to a president. So Trump is obviously aware of that. But it's still, I think it'd be nice if we had a younger president at some point.
Isn't he technically a lame duck anyway because of the 22nd Amendment? Because he, I think, has kind of given up this daydream of making some constitutional change so that he could run for that third term.
Yeah.
Without the third term, he's a lame duck, right?
Clinically speaking, he is. And, if you sort of use the clinical definition, which is a politician who is term limited, who cannot run again, as Donald Trump is by the Constitution, or, a politician who has already lost and who's just sort of playing out the string, or who has taken him or herself out of the running, said they're not running again, that makes him a lame duck. But I think lame duck is more of a state of mind than it is a kind of sort of a marker of time. Early in a president's second term, they want to remain as seemingly relevant and almost dangerous to other members of their party as possible. They want to continue to drive events as much as possible because obviously at some point attention is going to focus on whoever the next Republican nominee is, whoever the next Republican or whoever the next president is. So, I mean, part of Trump's trick is that he projects a level of constant relevance and even permanence at times. And I think one of the reasons he had that pipe dream of running for a third term or president for life or what have you is to sort of keep other Republicans guessing, thinking, is this actually possible? Could he pull this off? And that makes him sort of relevant, but also a figure that they have to pay attention to conceivably in the future.
Okay, in terms of paying attention conceivably in the future, the president has generated a lot of headlines recently because of his very harsh words to Marjorie Trader Greene and his splits over the Epstein files, but also much more seriously, the splits in the MAGA movement about people like Fuentes and Tucker Green. Not Tucker Green, Tucker Carlson. Big difference between Marjorie Taylor Greene right now and Tucker Carlson. But what about those divisions?
Well, that's part of the lame duck thing. I mean, it shows that Republicans might be actually feeling empowered to defy Trump in a way they never have to this point, which I think itself could be a marker of Republicans trying to move on from him. Now, whether that reaches a critical mass, whether it continues, we've seen that not to be the case in the past, but I think this is all part of the potential lame duckness that he is experiencing, and that might accelerate very quickly if he has, and he continues to have more vulnerability electorally.
Well, that all depends upon how the less than a year from now, the midterm elections go. The new piece by Mark Leibovich, Donald Trump is a lamer duck than ever, even though he doesn't want you to think so.